really just a matter of, can you actually get something in semblance of 2 or 3 days in a row where you don't have to work if you're still fortunate enough to be working from home? So what do? You turn to TV. And I don't know if we've been disappointed, if we've been elated, if we've just been distracted. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, generally speaking, served its purpose. And that's probably the best place to start in a matter of reflection, overall at least, is looking back at what those 3 days did for us. Last night, I was completely out of pocket. I couldn't contain myself. I was not in a positive way, part of me, just over the top, really frustrated with what I saw day 2 of the draft with my team, but realizing that I wasn't alone, not only here in Philadelphia with the fellow Eagles fans, but seeing other fan bases look and go into the draft like, please, just don't screw it up. Don't mess it up. And to be fair, I don't think the Eagles screwed anything up outside of day 2, but that's what you wanted, was a perfect weekend. That's all we wanted, was just something outside of a awful, just terrible situation that so many of us are in, stuck inside. And that's the best of it. If you're stuck inside with food to eat, power on, electricity, family, and everybody's healthy, that's the best case scenario. It gets far worse when you start looking at how bad it is around the country. Speaking of which, I actually read something today that should give a lot of us, especially since we're all wrapped up in this, some hope. And no, it doesn't have to do with where we'll begin coming up in a minute with both the NBA and something you might have missed in the NFL draft. But overall, things are actually progressing faster than you may think. And I'll just leave it at that, because there'll be a ton of conclusions reached or any political side I'm pushing. No. You know I don't buy into that.
All clear?
All right.
I owe the IRS $10,000.
The
IRS.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Oh, yep. I see you got the red shirt and the backwards hat on.
Collection agency and the world.
It's a head
do
thing,
not
but
give up until you pay.
I don't know what. Mine's not coming
We're
up.
being audited.
All right.
I called Tax Solutions
Good, as long
now,
as you can
and
see
a
it.
great big weight was lifted off my.
Yeah, well, when I go. Normally I watch it on.
My back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get
Yeah,
you the best
I had to
deal.
move it up
We
with the
connect
camera.
You with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who will get the IRS off your back.
We
All right,
saved
so
our
it's
home
working.
and overcame the most powerful collection.
Yep.
It wouldn't read this shit. Wouldn't read
Now,
the camera,
time
so
is
I had
running
to move
out.
it up.
Call 800-296-9744. 800-296-9744.
Yeah, I'm on your Twitch right now. I always like to double check it just to make sure.
Yeah, it looks like it's working.
800-296-9744.
It is shocking that your home can be stolen this easily. Let me share a true story. Deborah learned that brutal lesson when thieves found the title to her home online. Then they forged the documents to appear she sold her home, but she hadn't. Then they borrowed thousands using her home's equity. Deborah didn't know she was a victim until foreclosure notices arrived and an eviction notice followed.
I'm going to send you
She spent a
something on
fortune
the
trying to get her
DM.
home back.
Okay.
So
The crime is home
maybe
title
if you can get it
fraud, and
next
the
segment, that'd
FBI
be
calls
good.
it
Not
one of the
this one, of course,
fastest growing
but we
crimes.
can run it
The
back.
best advice for avoiding a title fraud nightmare is to protect your home with home
Is it they're like blending stuff in
Yeah,
the blender?
the smoothie guy.
Yeah, I got you.
for pennies a day. Home
All right,
Title Lock does.
so-
So first things first, find out if you're already a victim of home title fraud. Register your home at HometitleLock.com and enter SAVE for 1 month.
Not the whole thing?
Again, enter SAVE for 1 month of free protection at HometitleLock.com. HometitleLock.com.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson.
This looks disgusting, Ethan.
Yeah, it's awful.
Does it seem like the bank
Apparently
has
that
no
guy got
interest in
drafted.
helping you save your home and you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-946-1013. 800-946-1013. That's 800-946-1013.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shan.
So two things happened clearly over the weekend as you'll hit Monday. One will be the NFL draft, which is done. It's in the books. And there are a lot of things that don't ever transfer over deep in the NFL draft. Sometimes they do. And I will not use what happened day 3 to balance out or negate any type of negative doubt that I have, especially over not just the kid drafted in Jalen Hurts, but the whole situation on offense. And rightfully so, I won't, on the flip side, allow that drafting of a player at the time, which was completely and thoroughly unnecessary, irresponsible, I continue to pound, will not let that cloud the fact that Howie Roseman, and you see this now everywhere around the country, being lauded for bringing in as many speedsters as humanly possible. We know that just because you can run fast doesn't necessarily mean you can run routes, you can catch the football. In fact, that's been a concern for the first round pick, Jalen Reagor, as far as catching the ball. But the bottom line, for just using a microcosm, me specifically with the Eagles, it was a tale of completely two different tales. Well, that's redundant. It was a tale of two different picks, if you will. Drafts, maybe that's a better way to put it. You had one draft, which was taking Jalen Hurts, top 55 pick, that got everybody saying, whoa, even more so than the Packers taking Jordan Love in the first, trading up and getting Jordan Love in the first round. Then you had everything else. And that's what is so difficult about the NFL draft. You can't, a lot of times, you can't separate. You try to, right? Wow, look what they did well in round 2. They did okay round 3. But what is it really? It's really just a matter of, did that team get a guy you wanted? Because if they get somebody you don't want, even if it's in the same position that you wanted, and I went to this thing saying, hey, beggars can't be choosers. If my team can address the wide receiver position, lack thereof, 10 times over, go ahead and do it. But I think a lot of us across the country, whatever team you root for, we get hooked. We get hooked on these players, these names. Sometimes it's a clip or two that you've seen. You know damn well you didn't watch this kid play in college, but you saw 10 clips provided to you by somebody who did. And you start reading and you think, well, let me just read and catch up on everything about player Y from all the people that watched him. And then you build up your own idea and your own worldview of who the team should take. And what happens? The team doesn't take him for whatever reason. And then what happens, and this is what we do with everything. This is what we do with news. This is what we do with social issues discussed on Twitter. This is what we do with everything. But what happens is you build this thought in your head, and then you grow it and you nurture the seed until it's full blown into this idea of, if team doesn't get that player, they did a bad job. And we look and think, well, just get the guy that I wanted. And if they got the guy that you wanted, and sometimes it may not be a week or two coming into the draft, it's just, oh, Mel Kiper said he's the third best player available. It's the 6th round. I hope the Eagles get him. I hope the Cowboys get him. I hope the Falcons get him. You know, a lot of times it's really based on that. That's a big difference. Just looking around and having it even written down in some notepad for the last 5 weeks or 5 months, still you get caught up and you get hung up on it. And you know what it comes down to? A lot of times it comes down to preference. It's that simple. I know people don't like to hear it because it trivializes the draft. Oh, come on, Shander, what are you talking? No, it comes down to preference. It comes down to Rager versus Jefferson. Who do you prefer? And you know what? A lot of people prefer Jefferson. The Minnesota Vikings, I think, prefer Jefferson. As we spoke with Thor Nystrom yesterday out in Minneapolis, covering all things NFL for Roto World, but still a Vikings honk, if you will. Yeah, it made sense to them right in their lap. Eagles went with Rager. People thought, yeah, you left Jefferson on the board. That right there is a perfect example of how you, not the teams, not even the media, but you as fans, and me as well, because I'm a fan first. This definitely is a media. This is entertainment before journalism or anything like that. What we do, if that makes you feel any better, I'll use that pronoun, is create this narrative and then reinforce it. And then what happens is if it doesn't come to fruition, we turn around and we find ways to justify why we were still right. Well, they left Jefferson on the board. They get this Rager kid. Who the hell knows what's going on? TCU's dropping footballs. Quarterback plays terrible. LSU, SEC, wide receiver. They tend to work out. That right there is the perfect way in which you continue to just drive and reinforce this thing into stone. It started out growing like a plant, and now it's reinforced so much it's like stone, hard granite. This thought process of, man, if they don't get my guy, and you know what? Just like on the flip side, if they screw up and your guy who doesn't get drafted goes to, I don't know, the Cowboys or the Giants or the Skins, or maybe it's the flip side. Maybe your team, Atlanta, you see that guy you wanted. Man, they took A.J. Terrell, the cornerback. What the hell were they doing there? And you see him go somewhere else, goes to Seattle, and he thrives. That happens too. The Philly Mick, Hurts, best backup quarterback in the league. The kid hasn't played a snap yet, and he won't play a snap in a while. And he didn't go that high to be a backup quarterback. Come on. That's just impossible. That's not right now. Nate Sudfeld has more snaps than Jalen Hurts. Let's be fair about something. And this is based, of course, on the groove that I'm trying to ride here. Just so disappointed that they created controversy. They created drama for no reason. The Packers, I still maintain, reacted to drama. But even after you look at mock drafts to actual drafts, you look back and think, okay, well, what really happened? Well, what happened is you set yourself up for failure. Unless you're in that, I get you, Philly Mick. I know you're kidding, brother. I'll put it up there just so people can see. What happens is people get this, I need this player. I need this player. And you get all crazy. But you know what? You do it as well on the flip side. There's no room for patience. There's no room for reality. If you draft 10 times over the same position from the 4th round through the 7th round, chances are a couple of those guys ain't going to play. Chances are a couple of those guys won't make the team. I get that it's a great, and look, I'm not saying anything as far as the individual accomplishment of a player, but why do we continue to push this thing? Why do we continue to drive this thing to where it's like, my goodness, if they don't get my guy, they had a bad draft. And on the flip side, they got my guy. Therefore, like, there's no room for if they got your guy, you could be wrong. Much like you've been wrong countless times when you've told them many times over on Twitter, hey, draft player, draft my guy, and they don't listen. That guy turns into be an all-pro, and your guy is barely lucky if he's on the practice squad. These things are a crapshoot. The general managers and the people, the scouts, teams have people scouting players for months. And yes, sometimes, and we see it every year, a team tries to outsmart the room and they wind up outsmarting themselves. Jalen Hurts. It happens all the time. Every year, one team tries to do it. And maybe if you're Cleveland, you're built in to do it, although they were pretty good. And you look around and think, somebody else is going to add to this list as well. Misery loves company. There is a general feel every single year, and it comes to fruition, just a matter of time at some point in the draft, that somebody's going to outsmart themselves trying to outsmart the room. Still, with that probability being high, but the number of teams at least doing that being low, all the teams that get it right can't get it right 6-7 times a year in the draft. Guys miss, guys hit. Yet we look at this, oh, the Eagles won the draft. The Eagles lost it. Look at things that happened individually. I can't tell you if the kid that was picked in the 6th round is going to play or not. And you know what? Neither can you. And you can't look back at 10 years of history and tell me who was taken in the 6th round and at what position. No. The NFL never worked that way. That's why you get guys that can come out of anywhere. As long as the talent itself speaks for, you don't look so much at college stats, good or bad. I can't just hedge and say, well, the guy had a bad year at TCU, so I don't count that. And then rant and rave if they pick somebody in the SEC who just dominated. Your team, the people that you've scouted, the people that have been scouted, it is a crapshoot, and it is all based on preference. And we need this immediate satisfaction every single year. And, you know, to be fair, I haven't really railed on it in a long time, but maybe the Jalen Hurts thing opened up this wound that I thought was pretty much sealed. And yeah, you can look at Danny Watkins' draft and a couple of others for my team. I'm sure there are plenty of bad draft picks going through your mind for your squad as well. But something happened on Friday that reopened this disgust that I think I have. No, that I know I have. Because we need to race to the finish line. You can't be the hare in this race. You have to be the tortoise. And it sucks because we're all quarantined. We're all stuck inside. And we just want to be the hare. That's what we physically want to be right now, is just bounce off walls, dart outside. Doesn't matter. It's pouring rain right here. I might lose power. Who the hell knows? It's bad up here. But still, we want to just run outside in the rain and run outside and have all this fun. You can't. You have to let these things play out. Now, some of you might be thinking, hold on a second. Let this play out. Doesn't that sound contradictory to what you're talking about with Jalen Hurts? Nope, not at all. In fact, I'll tell you why that is a complete farce to try and turn that around on me. Because as I mentioned yesterday, and I'll mention again tomorrow, the drafting of Jalen Hurts, the problems that arise with throwing him into your locker room as a highly selected quarterback in the draft are far deeper than if he plays this year. And you know what? If half of those wide receivers that the Eagles drafted don't play this year in the back end of the draft, that's going to be normal. Just like if a team loaded up on tackles. I mean, how many linemen? It felt like every time I looked up, the Titans are picking up another lineman. You're drafting as many as you can in a position of need to throw them up against the wall and see who fits. I saw this happen a couple of years ago. Year one, I think it was when Jim Schwartz was defensive coordinator. He did it with cornerbacks. What happened on Friday night has soured the draft for me, and I admit it. But in one area, in one small area, I can still look at players that are on my team and be excited about it. But it all comes looking back like, hey. Why do we need to fast forward? Why? And don't sell me on, well, we're in the pandemic, because we've been doing this since the draft exists. As far back as you want to go, we've been doing this crap where we need to fast forward grade and rate and all of these things. How much bias is in your draft grade? How much bias, when you look back, positive or negative, because bias runs both ways, are you looking back and say, yep, drafted my guy in the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, A+ draft? Because of your guy? Because of your scouting? And you know damn well that if it were the opposite situation, you'd be giving them a C- D+. 800-224-2004 is our phone line. We're live on the stream, twitch.tv/Shander Show. You can follow along on Twitter as well, @Shander Show. I just don't know why we continue to rush things like grades and reaction. And I'm not saying like, hey, that was a good pick, that was a bad pick, but something far, far deeper. We'll go down to Dallas in 14 minutes. Coming up, a story that's worth telling regarding the new Smoothie King. I'll explain that coming up. 8-time Shander, SB Nation Radio. Okay, hold on one second. Dog's
The Browns is kind of what, old hat.
Yeah, that's old hat.
That
Everybody
means-
does it.
Can't do it anymore.
Buccaneers,
Not even fun.
You're now on our radar for being inept.
Going back to the glory days.
glory days of 20 years ago. But I'm with you with the whole.
It's ready, by the way. Just
Okay.
Usually, glory days means I got to sit down with somebody and have them reminisce about a time before mine.
And Ken Burns is narrating.
Or that over-the-top announcer that's like, and the skipper brings out Lou Gehrig out to the field, and look at him go as he hits a home run, and the Yankees win it by a score of 3-2, beating those old Boston Red Stockings once again. That's what I mean by glory days. Or look at Billy Cannon run, the LSU superstar. Look at him smile as he scores another touchdown against Ole Miss, and Tiger fans cannot stand it any longer as they stand up and cheer for good old Billy Cannon. Like, that's what I mean by glory days. If Joe Buck's calling your game and that's what you consider glory days, it's not glory days.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Game time decisions.
What's up, everybody? I am Gabriel Morency inviting you. No, I'm not inviting you. I'm telling you. Join me and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart weekdays at 6 Eastern as we throw it down on the loudest station in the nation, SB Nation Radio. It's Game Time Decisions with Gabriel Morency and the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Bring it.
Game time decisions with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart. Weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Brett McMurphy from Stadium joining us here and Pushing the Odds. What are you hearing from athletic directors and coaches about their preparations for what may or may not happen coming up this fall?
As far as the athletic directors, I mean, they've got a number of contingency plans, whether that starts in late August as scheduled or maybe even gets pushed back